watching the new intros just never get old. Never get old no matter how many times I watch them. Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of The Knockout. So this time we have a full cast, and I get to be your host. And just sit back and enjoy it. So not some last-minute cramming like it was high school again. So that was fun. So today we got Booster Gold versus... Booster versus Bloodshot. I almost drew a blank there for a second. We got some Valiant versus DC. So please welcome the comic collector arguing for Bloodshot. How's it going, man? He was on season 1 of the Knockout arguing as Black Panther. Sorry. So good to have you. And we have Tim, the comic collector, arguing Booster Gold. So
what's up, everybody?
We got 2 comic collectors, so either way, a comic collector wins.
Yeah.
So in the chat, it's CC or KK. Vote for your favorite person. So, all right. As said last time in episode 1, we got a change to the rules. We got the official challenge. So what is for the challenge is basically if one of the contenders doesn't quite think something is fair, doesn't think it applies, like Booster Gold brings his future tech, or the fact that does Bloodshot kill? I didn't quite understand if Bloodshot kills. Yeah. So our Booster Gold thinks that this should be a fair and even fight, to which he can't kill. He can official challenge that, and both contenders will argue their best case to me real quick, and I will decide who gets to carry through in the victor or through that argument. You only get one, so use it wisely. All right. Does either of you wish to go first in the opening statements, or does it matter to you guys?
It doesn't matter.
I don't.
All right. Well, let's have you go first, since C comes before K. So we'll do it that way. So give us your best argument, opening statement for why Booster Gold wins this fight.
Sure. So describing who Booster Gold is, he was a professional level football player who stole, basically from his time, this would be old technology, and traveled to the present. So he has a Legion flight ring. He could fly. He has power gauntlets. He has Brainiac 5's belt, which basically creates a force field. And he has some other stuff like skeets, stuff like that I'm not going to bring into the argument. Just Booster Gold himself. But offensively, he has Power Blast. He has elite level fight training. And if you shoot, mass or beams at him, he has the ability to absorb and either shoot those back or even maybe increase their intensity. Defensively, talking about his shield, this is a guy that was in a fight with Doomsday. Doomsday is someone who beat Superman to death with his bare hands, and he took punches from Doomsday. At the end of that fight, only Booster Gold was walking after that. Everyone else was either in a hospital or dead. And future tech-wise, like from what I understand of, is it Bloodshot? What I understand of him is he gets his power from alien nanotech. So I think the best way to describe this fight would be a Commodore 64 trying to fight an iPad, but not just an iPad from 1,000 years in the future. Zero chance. I mean, you can't hurt Booster Gold. Even the regenerative abilities of Bloodshot, he's not going to have time to eat meat or press, protein against a wound. There's just no way he could even damage Booster Gold in this fight. So that's my argument for Booster.
Very good, very good. Some things I didn't know. Now it is your turn. What does Bloodshot have to bring to the fight?
So to get into it, so you did have the action figure of Booster Gold, but I'm repping the 2 first appearances of Bloodshot, so I think that gains me a little bit of something at least. And Bloodshot is an interesting character because his powers and abilities change from comic series to comic series, and depending on whatever author is with him, because like you said, he is made up of nanites basically at this point, and his abilities can vary from whatever anyone wants him to do, because he's basically the equivalent of a futuristic Sandman. And I don't know if you know much about Sandman, but once you kind of hit him, no matter how many times or how hard, he kind of always comes back and pulls back together. So for the most part, I'll be pulling from the most recent comic book series, which has been incredible if you haven't been reading it. Art started out at least by Brett Booth, but basically Bloodshot started out as a soldier who was um, killed in battle and killed in action, very similar to Moon Knight actually. He was brought back by an experimental army foundation, basically trying to make a super soldier. Again, very similar to Captain America, except at this point they didn't want to bring him back to be some hero to help save the day. The Rising Sun Corporation wanted him to become a contract killer for the most part, and against his will. But giving him these abilities, he's been basically not only trained before this hand in combat to kill people, he was trained, and at the very least, just to maim them to where that they aren't going to be getting back up anytime soon. He was also made and created as a war machine to do nothing but inflict massive damage and kill, not just through the use of weapons, but through the use of his own body, and also to take massive damage. He can basically be reduced to a puddle and come back. It's sure it'll wear down his energy, and he will have to at some point refuel, but he can go a surprising amount and take a surprising amount of damage over long periods of time and still be able to pull back together. Um, it's not the fastest healing, of course. It's not instant, but it does happen. And sure, Booster Gold has a shield, but if there's nothing that Booster Gold can really do to damage him, what can you do to Bloodshot? Because I was talking to Mr. Comics before this about a Valiant character who's very similar to Booster Gold, that being that of Exo Manowar. Except the only difference is Exo Manowar's suit, for all intents and purposes, is more powerful, and Exo is a trained actual military combatant, and the best actually military combatant of his time period. Booster Gold, for all intents and purposes, is just a nobody who happened upon a futuristic suit that he has to be constantly told how to use. So there's sure his suit has a lot of capabilities, but a lot of them he doesn't even know how to use. He has to be told how to use them. So going up against someone like Bloodshot, who doesn't very well know how to use his abilities, including becoming invisible, which is more recent in his abilities, and he knows how to use them at a whim and can use them very smoothly. Booster Gold would, for the most part, have to know the inside and out workings of his suit, and he does not. Has he been able to take a beating from Doomsday? Absolutely. But was that the suit's fault, or was that his fault as a person, as a human? And how much fight did he bring back to Doomsday? Nothing. Did everyone else basically die? Sure. But no one else was able to hurt him, just like Booster Gold wasn't. He only survived because he sat down and played dead. And Doomsday had better things to do and better people to kill who could actually hurt him, like Superman. So Booster Gold may have survived, but he couldn't put the fight back. So sure, Booster Gold can sit there with his shield on, but that doesn't mean he's going to win the fight. So I think that's the best argument that I can put up, at least for now.
Okay. Good starts. Good starts. Okay, I'll get the ball rolling. With a question. I'm not very knowledgeable about both characters, so I will be hard pressed. So I will basically be asking questions as we go along, those I can think of. The biggest problem I can think of, or I can see here, is it comes down to kind of experience. We said that Bloodshot can kill, and Booster Gold stole his technology, and he was an old football player kind of thing. So how exactly is Booster Gold supposed to overcome Bloodshot in this, especially if this is especially in the beginning when it's most likely that he could be put down in a fight, especially by someone who could kill?
We see Booster not knowing his suit would be going back in the comics. You go to the Booster of now, this is a guy that's been through the wars. He's fought somebody that was telepathically controlling everyone on the planet and only he remembered him. You're talking about chain killers with the army. When it comes to members of the Justice League, including Booster, trained members of the army, the elite killing machines are just warm-up fights. They don't compare to superheroes. But Booster I actually sort of forgot what your question was and just responding to him. What was the exact question of what Booster could do?
Well, just how is he supposed to overcome the lack of experience or knowledge in that regard?
Oh, yeah, he definitely has experience if we're talking about current Booster Gold.
Okay.
I mean, current Booster Gold's been through quite a bit traveling the time stream.
Okay. And how about here, Bloodshot here? How is he gonna end the fight? Kind of thing. Is he gonna end the fight quickly, or is this gonna be like a test in the water kind of thing because it's future tech that's above his knowledge, or is it the alien tech that puts him on an even fight?
Well, I think the other comic collector definitely underplayed the nanotech in that. Sure, it's present day technology, but it's not present day Earth technology. Boosters is. Exo Manowar, who I was mentioning, it's alien tech, and much more powerful than Booster Gold's tech. So I don't think time period necessarily plays that big of a advantage for Booster Gold, in as much as the capabilities of it. It can be 1,000 years in the future and just be some average toaster. It's still going to be a toaster, and sure, it's a fancy suit. It has a lot that it can do, but as I was mentioning, Bloodshot's nanites can do anything you really want it to. He can, like I said, heal back from a puddle. He can make weapons out of himself, and he can use the nanites to infiltrate however he needs to be. And like I said, more recently, even to make himself invisible. So I think that there's going to be a feeling out process for sure, especially because we don't know how they're going to happen upon each other, especially given they're in different comic universes. It might be an accidental jump on Booster Gold's part. He might have been looking for a specific Batman, which we're looking at in Generation Shattered when he grabbed the 40s Batman. It could have been anything and just some accidental time jump or anything, but he would have to come into the situation and adapt and be able to learn Bloodshot's technology and expect something of himself, because that's another falling of Booster Gold. He's very cocky. He is very cocky. And that typically isn't very good when you're going up against a superhuman, and especially a trained fighter and trained killer. So while Bloodshot does definitely, he's more of an anti-hero, just like Punisher is. He wouldn't kill an innocent or decent or good person. He would at least try to put you in a spot where you can't fight back and you can figure out what's going on. So I think Bloodshot off the bat would have more of an advantage than Booster Gold was, because Bloodshot isn't cocky and he doesn't head rush into things. He's very careful, very carefully thinking out things, and he doesn't just go in a fight holding back. So he'll see the opportunity present itself if something's going on and this guy looks dangerous. I need to figure out what's going on, but first I have to put him down first. Booster Gold isn't going to have that first instinct. And even if Bloodshot does try to start a fight with him, Booster Gold won't take him seriously until he starts getting actually hurt. So.
Okay. What's your response to that?
Well, one thing to point out about Booster's technology is it's not Earth technology. It's talking about when the Legion of Superheroes is old. His belt is from Brainiac 5. That's a member of the Legion. That's the United Planets, the whole galaxy pulling information. So it would be pretty much all alien tech that Booster has. One thing I would wonder about Bloodshot is how exactly would he do harm to Booster Gold? Because old technology like that isn't going to infiltrate the newer tech. And like, you can't shoot Booster. Booster would just repel that back at you. You can't stab Booster. Like, how exactly would you damage Booster Gold?
Okay.
So does that force field cover the gigantic open area that is his head?
Yeah. Well, like you pointed out that Booster's cocky, you're referring a lot of old Booster Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would be going on the Booster Gold from his most recent series, that is travels through time. If he would run into a Bloodshot, more than likely he would know he was going to run into Bloodshot. He would know everything about Bloodshot. It's wouldn't necessarily catch him off guard in that respect. He would know who he's fighting. One thing I didn't see when I researched Bloodshot is any way he could damage Booster. Like, there's no you'd have to be extremely strong or have like a spaceship cannon or something, like super heavy duty to try and get the booster.
Interesting. I didn't think about the fact that it's coming for the future and all that it might be the United Federation plan. So technically it's alien technology versus alien technology. So definitely definitely if it was up to me, would elevate Booster Gold in standing to where they'd be a little more even fight and all that. At least that's what it appears like to me. So do you guys think was this be a drawn on fight? Like I said, you got your shield versus the actual soldier kind of a thing. Do you think this battle would drag on, or do you think
I think the only real chance would be what the other comic collector argued: if Booster didn't know who this was and was attacked blindly, you know what I mean? If he had time to get his shield up, he knew he was going into a fight, it'd be extremely difficult for Bloodshot to damage him. Whereas Booster could fight at a distance. You know what I mean? It's the guy could heal, but I couldn't just keep going.
Yeah, I guess that does present a problem to Booster Gold there. If you said your healing factor with Bloodshot, especially if he can turn into a pile of goo and come back, that seems to me pretty pretty hard to overcome, especially if you're not a harder person.
It's sort of like, what would we declare the winner of the fight? Because we sort of both covered neither would kill. So would it be the first knockdown, the first knockout?
Yeah, I mean the knockout.
That would be the end of the fight,
Yeah, who can? So. Yeah, in this case, regards, the person. Unless Bloodshot wants to argue that after I want to end the fight, I will put him down, or will kill him, or he wouldn't because this is a hero. I have agreement with him. But if not killing, I would say the person to win this fight would be just the first person to be knocked down or secured, like tied up in a way that they can't get out of it, is the first person to win. Who can come out on top first. That would be the harder part.
Bloodshot, unless he deemed him as a threat that needed to be put down, which if Booster would just return fire and wouldn't try to give in to explanation of what's going on, Bloodshot might kill him. And if he's under control, again, like Rising Spirit, which has happened on several occasions, he wouldn't even think twice and he would just put Booster Gold down. And like I said, with what you said with catching him off guard, he can turn invisible. And at any moment, he can just push that reset button. And sure, he would have his guard up for a little bit, but how long would he have that guard up for? What would Bloodshot do in that time that he has that guard up for until he lets it down? It's invisible. Time, honestly, all Bloodshot would have to do is just maybe try to regroup.
Invisible wouldn't affect Booster because of his goggles. Just real similar to how invisible doesn't affect Batman with way younger tech. Batman can still see you if you're invisible through his cowl.
Yeah, but what type of invisible? Because there's quite a few different ways that people have achieved becoming invisible through different means in the comic books. So,
but any of them be able to...
talking about just like a deflecting of light? Because if so, it's very easy to get around that if you have the technology. I mean, what is it exactly that would have? Because at that point, you would have to go into specifications of what makes Bloodshot invisible and what allows Booster Gold to be able to see him anyway. Would it be a heat signature? Would it be being able to see the reflections of the light? What would it be? And we would have to get into that as well too.
I know Booster has ultraviolet. Like he could see all spectrums of light, and he does have heat detection, but I'm not too sure beyond that.
Right. So. And that's one of the things about arguing two people of especially alien technology is not only do you have to fight the different specifications and different comic book universes, so they're not going to be the same materials, the same technologies available at the same time. The Valiant universe is much farther in the future than the DC universe is, and the alien universe and the acknowledgement and availability of that alien tech on Earth is a lot more far advanced than it is in the DC universe. So, and they don't always line up what the technology is, what it does, and what its limitations are. You just kind of have to figure that out based on other people's abilities.
Mhm.
And when those other people also aren't from the same universe, it's very hard to say whose technology is where, whose is so much far advanced than whose.
Right. Well, let's add a little wrinkle or a plateau to argue with that. Then, as far as to kind of do with the strength and all that, who has each contender beaten in fights? You said Booster Gold's done up against Doomsday, but he didn't actually win that fight. He just barely managed to stay alive. So that was something for people who haven't voted yet. Whatever. Who has your contender beaten in a fight and all that, so that we can actually match up strength, or tally charts. Okay, I beat this guy and this guy and this guy. Well, good for you, but I beat this guy who beats your guys is all the way to all day. So, who has Booster Gold beaten in fights that you could add to his strength total, and who has Bloodshot beaten?
He's beaten OMAC, which is a sentient, like a sentient computer of advanced technology that Batman made. He's instrumental in multiple fights against him. He's went up against, I think it's Black Scarab. I might be getting that wrong name. That's the same. You don't see it with Ted Kord, but you see it with Jamie Reyes, the alien scarab that attaches to the body, and you could create alien weaponry and all that.
Mm.
He's went up against Max Lord, who could literally control you with his mind, erase your memory. That's the person who controlled Superman at one point with his mind. That's just 3 of his bigger victories that he is instrumental in.
Cool.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely impressive, but not a lot of physical strength involved, and more so just overcoming technology, which I would also think is a little unfair given his suits from the future and its future alien technology. So future technology going up against even very, very advanced current technology, that's still not a fair fight. And Bloodshot, he doesn't have a whole lot to show for him either in terms of going up against Exo-Man War or stuff like that, because the Valiant universe just doesn't really have superhumans in terms of supervillains. He's, like I said, more of a Punisher character in that he goes up against government agencies and the tech they make put against him. They make robots specifically to kill Bloodshot and to alter him. There was almost like a race of mutants that were being created in labs specifically to control the nanites within Bloodshot's body. But he was able to power through that, because it's weird because his nanites also kind of work like the Green Lantern ring does, and it's more based off of his willpower on how strong the nanites' influence and power is. But he's taken down most recently an organization called the Burned, which is a secret organization built off of people like Bloodshot who were used by these government agencies, and actually that's how he got the ability to turn invisible. And they go behind the scenes to take down all the government organizations that wronged them, and he was able to take them down practically single-handedly. So it's mainly just going up against the best tech that every government on the face of the planet has to throw up against him, and all they've been able to do is control him. They've never been able to stop him. And when they did control him, he was able to come out of it and stop them. So that's sort of the playing field that is for Bloodshot.
Okay. Some interesting things to consider. Do any of you have a trump card you want to bring up now to help anyone, undecided or swing the thing? Is there anything we haven't considered? Because I see it's a pretty good.
I kind of want to keep it just to him and his suit's abilities, and not really bring in a trump card like time travel or what his robot could do, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a little surprised. I guess you didn't want to bring Skeets into it, because frankly, I could have seen why, because it's kind of like it's a part of who he is. Like when I was arguing Batman Beyond, the other day, I would have argued Bruce Wayne being in his ear is a part of it. So I mean, if you want to verify and all that, it's completely
it's an interesting matchup because it's 2 people that are really nothing without the tech.
Right.
You know what I mean? You'd still have a trained killer that could fight on Bloodshot side. You'd have a without the tech on Booster's Gold, he never would have never left his time period.
Mm-hmm.
Never would have even been a hero.
Yeah, and I mean, I would bring in the fact that all the stuff that other people have done with Bloodshot's technology, because Bloodshot was kind of thrown into it just like Booster was and had to learn how to use his nanites, and he's still learning the things that other people are able to do with his nanotech. Like more recently, the Burn was able to create gigantic nanite creatures that were taking out literal armies in the Middle East and reanimate dead corpses. But that won't come into play because Bloodshot himself is not able to, as of yet, to do that by himself. So I think there's definitely a lot more that his tech could do that he doesn't know about yet. But he is still, without, of course, altering the uses currently of the nanites. But we'll just leave it strictly to what Bloodshot, with his nanites in the current state, are able to do in the fight.
Okay. So if this is if this was a short fight, who do you think who comes out ahead? And if this is a long fight, who'd come out ahead? Because I see it, the way I see it, it's two different endings. If it's a long fight, I see Booster Gold, I think, coming out ahead is how I could argue. But if it's a short fight, I would argue Bloodshot would come out ahead. It just depends on how and when, and they come across fights.
To me, it all, this whole fight would hinge upon what Booster knew going into it. Because, like I said, can Bloodshot fly?
No.
So
he can. He's like the Hulk. He can't fly, but he can jump very.
He's a jumper. Yeah, because if Booster knew what was coming, I could really just see Booster keeping his distance and trying to wear him down. You know what I mean? Because it ain't like Booster walks around with his shield on. He couldn't do it. It wouldn't just last forever, especially if it was taking hits. Like, one thing to point out about the shield, because I've used it a lot, it isn't just, like I said, it isn't invincible. It doesn't last forever. So in a short fight, that's what Booster would need it to be. So if we were going by first knockout, that would be how Booster would win. Like the first time he could turn him into a puddle or, blow off Bloodshot's legs. Yeah. But if they just kept going and going and going, the suit will run out of energy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess I guess you both have that deficiency. Your shield will wear down, and healing factor, if your argument would have to replenish or eat to build it back up.
That's what I was wondering. I'd sort of asked earlier, something I wasn't clear on researching Bloodshot is how would he try to injure Booster? Because if you shot him with an energy blast or even threw, a car at him or something, that would just be bad because then it'd be coming back at you. You know what I mean? Really, the way to do it is brute physical strength,
I think the main thing going in, I definitely think if it's a short fight, it's definitely going to hinge upon the situation. And I think given that it's two completely different universes, it's probably an accident on Booster Gold's fault, probably trying to go somewhere else. I don't think he would go out of his way to go to a completely different universe. And if that's Bloodshot finds him and he sees that he's a threat, he might just try to blow his brains out right then and there. But alternatively, he might also use his nanites to his advantage to try to learn a little bit more about Booster Gold. And if he can just slip one or two nanites in through the shield, I mean, who knows what could happen with that. And I definitely think if it's a long fight, it would probably err on the side of a draw. And for a time to regroup, I think Bloodshot, because like I said, he's a soldier. He would withdraw before he would die in battle, especially against an opponent that he doesn't know the intentions of first. So I think Bloodshot would, in a long fight, withdraw before he would ever go down for the fight. And I don't think Booster would be quick enough on his feet to learn about Bloodshot and his abilities to be able to prevent him from doing that, or to put him down early enough before he could get away.
Awesome. It's definitely an interesting fight and all that. I don't know. I have it in my head. I'd imagine being in the future that you could theoretically argue that Booster Booster may know of Bloodshot, but may not know everything about him. So you could still surprise him, even if he knew about him. So it could still, kind of thing. So I could still think that there might, be like, oh, this guy named Bloodshot, that's just a weirdo. didn't care about him, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, there he is. And
It'd be like when they run into the milestone characters.
yeah,
Like Booster knows who they are, but like doesn't. You know what I mean? Like I read about them in history when I wasn't paying attention.
yeah. So it is what it is. So, if we have nothing further to add, we can start closing arguments. If you guys have nothing else you want to add, or no other way, no other, maybe not trump card, but an argument you might want to flush out just a little bit more, just in case someone out there hasn't voted yet who's watching this. Is there anything, or do we want to move to closing arguments to sum things up?
I'm ready for closing arguments.
All right. Well, take it away. Or what'd you say? Sorry, I missed it. Or what'd you say? KK.
No, I didn't say anything. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Take it away, Booster Gold, with your closing argument. So.
Yeah, I'm by no means a expert on Bloodshot. I just know what I read. What I would just go on that is to win in this fight, you'd have to physically take Booster out quick. I would assume this is a fight because, like we said, it's from different universes that they would know they're fighting, so that'd be a little bit harder to do. We could argue technology all day. It's just my opinion that it'd be really hard to take over Booster's technology with the nanites, especially quick enough in a fight. I just feel like he has the edge with flexibility, being able to fly. He does have technology that scans and does tell him some stuff, so he'd be aware of some of what was happening. I just feel like Booster Gold has the edge in this. Like what I said earlier, in my opinion, it's like the Commodore 64 going up against the iPad from the future. It's going to be a tough fight, and I just do not see. I haven't heard a good argument for how exactly he could be damaged. Like what would you hit Booster Gold with if this was a fight where they knew they was fighting? I don't know if Bloodshot has the brute strength to get to Booster Gold.
Okay. Very good.
And for Bloodshot, I definitely hear what you're saying about the shield, and sure, Booster's technology is advanced for the DC universe, but again, I don't think it's fair to say Commodore 64 versus iPad, because when you look at it, like I said, the Valiant universe in terms of technology is far more advanced. I mean, an Iron Man suit in present day Valiant universe wouldn't be anything. It would be a cool little trinket, because again, Iron Man took how long to come up with nanotech? The Valiant universe had it from the start. The Valiant universe is just so much more advanced in terms of the technology available to them, and I think again, when you're coming up against a character like Booster Gold versus a character like Bloodshot, who is again, depending on the situation, and if he's being controlled or not, he would be more operating on reflex and instinct. Bloodshot does tend to be more reckless and tends to be more of a shoot first, ask questions later kind of character, depending again on who's writing him. So I think when it's coming down to it, I think when you mix Booster Gold's level of cockiness, again, he hasn't lost that. It's not all gone. He's not just all of a sudden a straight faced superhero that can just do whatever he wants to whoever he wants. Booster Gold, for the most part, is a lot of defense and a lot of overcoming what is the DC Universe's modern technology. Whereas I find him lacking in terms of anything that would be able to even come close to damaging Bloodshot. You can talk about, well, if Booster Gold could do this, if he could do that. That's a big if. Could he blow Bloodshot's legs off? No, I don't think so. I don't think Bloodshot would ever or I don't even think Booster could ever get in substantial enough of a hit to be able to get Bloodshot to a point where he would be considered down. Bloodshot's not that inexperienced, and Booster Gold's offense is not that great in compared to what he would have to do to Bloodshot, because Bloodshot's he's not just something to shrug off. Bloodshot is the Captain America, basically, in terms of technology, what a super soldier is, and all of the governments that created him have tried to take that technology back, and ultimately they've failed, because Bloodshot isn't just limited by its technology. He's also an incredibly resilient human being within that technology, and I think that's something that is not something to be glanced over. and something that you might find lacking within Booster Gold.
Awesome. Well, very good arguments, guys. Very good arguments. This is what I was always hoping from the very beginning that I would get the knockout to be. This is just a very good, pretty even fight and all that. You both had me going both of your ways at one point or another and all that. And I have not voted. My vote will not be cast unless there's a tie at the end of the poll. So I will drop the link one more time. You two are free to vote for yourselves. It'll basically cancel it out, or whatnot. So, but I really loved and enjoyed this matchup a lot. This is very interesting. I've learned more about Bloodshot, who I had no idea what he was. I mean, I haven't even seen the movie because I looked at it going, I would only see that movie because Vin Diesel's in it. I had no other reason and no other desire to see it other than I liked Vin Diesel. And
when you were drawing people for the show and Bloodshot come up, I was like, this is the one person I know nothing about. Like, I've been reading Wikipedia and like Reddit and trying to figure out what he could do.
Yeah, and this is out of all the matchups that were coming up here. I said, well, I could argue a case for this person. I mean, Captain Britain, know nothing about basically, either. But otherwise, Captain Britain and Bloodshot. Everyone else, I could kind of know what I was doing. But when this matchup came along, either I was going like, ugh, I'm gonna be a real spectator in this one. I mean, I felt like I might have been helping a little bit on either side, but mainly because I was going back and forth. I mean, you probably could tell when I was siding with you guys, and when I was throwing arguments, that I was being swayed one way or another by things. I was trying to keep it unbiased as possible, obviously, because I'm here to host and to cast a deciding vote if needed. So
yeah, I would definitely recommend that y'all do look into some runs by Bloodshot. Jeff Lemire did a really good run. That was a few years back. There's one currently going on, though I think it's about to end. That's also been really good. Like I said, the art started out by Brett Booth, who's an incredible artist. And Bloodshot's just if you like anything like Punisher or anything like that, any sort of struggling within themselves superheroes, I think Bloodshot is a great character to read about. And same with like any other Valiant books that are out right now. Valiant's been killing it lately, so I'll definitely give them a shot if you haven't yet.
Awesome. All right, so give you guys about another 30 seconds or a minute to cast any votes. So anybody lingering, we only have been a relatively small audience live, but I have checked up a little bit. I try not to check up too much, but it seemed to me that it's been a good amount of voting so far. A decent amount of voting, and according to JB from Discovery Bay earlier, that it was close. So apparently, who was ahead? I forget who was ahead. But the other person has managed to catch up. So we will have to see who wins. So
I would definitely say that if we're going off of comic books, at least, Bloodshot's first two appearances look a whole hell of a lot better than Booster Gold's first appearance does.
Yeah.
Booster Gold was created by Dan Jurgens. You got that.
Yeah.
Top-notch writer.
Mine was created by Danny Cohen, who is a legendary artist.
Yeah. So if we do have a tie, we'll do a real quick, one more real quick, basically final sudden death point before I make a decision, obviously. So here we go. And the results are looks like Bloodshot with 7 and Booster Gold with 6.
Wow, that was close.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
With the K's for pulling out a win. So you did not manage to go to the second round in the first season, but now you made it to the second round. So you will be going up. Bloodshot will be going up against Batman Beyond. So that should be another fun matchup. We got Future Tech versus, well, not Future Tech, but Netmore Future Tech versus Alien Tech.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
So, okay, thank you so much, Tim, for joining us. It was a lot.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So I have to have you back on. And you are more than welcome again to be back for season 3 whenever it is. I'm thinking we might do a powerhouse, Olympian powerhouse for season 3. The big guns, Superman, Green Lantern, that kind of, world breakers kind of thing. Yeah. You have to make sure it's all power, not on some of them, like we did season 1. I was still learning, so I want to make sure it's more.
Super villains too.
Well, yeah, super villains too. Well, you got to have super villains, and then they can fight dirty. So that's what the thing is here. So, yep. So, congratulations to Bloodshot for pulling this out. So, is there anything either you want to shout out for your channel or your Instagram pages moving forward? You know, while I have an audience here before we move on. Oh, and before I forget, I have in an hour and 20 minutes my top 25 comic books of 2020. So I got some pretty big books showing up there. So if you guys have a spare, hour or so, make some popcorn and fall asleep watching the video. So that's what I have coming up here in an hour and a half. So what do you guys have coming up here?
I mean, for me, before the end of the year, I have you'll be able to expect another top list like that too. Actually, one will be probably a top 10 of my pickups for 2020. The 10 biggest books I picked up, and as I was mentioning, Comic Collector before, Mr. Comics before this, I completed my Amazing Spider-Man 2 through 20. So you'll see quite a few of those, and some that I haven't shown on my YouTube channel just yet, and even some more indie pickups that were pretty big for me. But you'll also get my my top best ongoings or miniseries for the year, and I don't specifically focus on DC, Marvel, or just independents. I have a little mixed match of just about anything. So if you like getting into any good indies, but you're maybe more new to it, or same with DC and Marvel, pop onto that. I did one last year, and there was quite a few indies on there too. So if you want to see any new books you might have liked, or maybe your favorite, and just know that other people are also really enjoying it, feel free to stop by and see that too at some point within the next few days, I would say.
Awesome. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I just did yesterday my top 5 DC series of 2020, and I will probably do something similar to what you guys are doing. I don't know if it'll be 20 or 25 or what top pickups this year. And just a quick shout out, and 2 Saturdays on my channel, the Fanboys Live and the Retro Review will be back. So if you're interested in DC Comics news and all that, definitely come check that out.
Awesome. When's that next Superman chat? I just mentioned it. I just didn't quite catch it. But when's the next Superman show?
The Phantom Zone, we usually go tri-weekly. We've been off for the holidays. It might be in 2 Fridays or 3 Fridays. We haven't decided yet.
Awesome.
So, yep.
I had a good time arguing. Not arguing. I'm still in the fighting. I had a good time discussing Superman 75, The Death of Superman, and all that. My favorite book, which you can tell my absolute favorites in my collection currently are behind me. Everything. So I do look forward to it. So.
And one more thing I did want to mention that I'm going to be getting into. I know I'm the comic collector, but I've also been collecting quite a few Stephen King books, and I just recently completed my collection, so I'm mainly just upgrading now, and almost have a hardcover for every book. Some really expensive books, and so on my YouTube channel, if you do like Stephen King books, recently I'll be getting into probably a collection overview once I feel like it's in a good enough place to where I'm good where it's going to be for, unless something comes up that is just a great opportunity, and show those off. And I'm also probably going to be going through, because I'm going through in order, reading all of his books, and I'll probably do a review for each book as I finish them. So I finished Carrie, and I'm about halfway done with Salem's Lot, so I'll probably be putting up some reviews for that. So if you like Stephen King, or you're new to him and you want to get into him, go ahead and follow along with me. It'll be a fun ride.
Awesome.
Man, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I only own a couple, but I've read them all, and man, I love his short story books.
Mm-hmm.
There's some awesome stuff in those books.
Yes, I am not. I don't do horror movies. I don't do all that. I mean, I've watched 1 or 2 horror movies, with my wife, just so she likes watching them, but she wants someone there so she can go and all that. I think you're going the whole time going, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I hate this stuff. So that's all
things we do for love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed the video in the audience, please hit that like button. Comment down below if you think who you would have voted for, and if you thought your guy was robbed. An argument you would have had. Feel free. Because give Bloodshot here any arguments. Feel free to in a comment down below any arguments that he might have for how he might be Batman.
I tell you one thing though, if you
It's-
beat Booster, you should be able to get through Batman Beyond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking too, especially if I can keep Bruce Wayne out of the equation.
Well, like I said,
Yeah.
if that's how you want to use your challenge in the in the next go around, but seriously, because I'll warn you now ahead of time. I like the aspect of Bruce Wayne in his head, all that. So you have to have a serious argument on why he shouldn't be allowed in his head.
Oh,
That's
I
probably
really-
like the biggest nerf or whatever in all the comics is Bruce Wayne. Like you got to keep Bruce Wayne out of it because it's like Batman always wins. Like
Yeah.
keep that part out and just do Terry.
I mean, maybe if you want to throw in like an argument going, well, Bloodshot can work something on his belt and create an EMP blast, and there goes, there goes the ears, and he can no longer talk.
a little taste of how I could get around that is Bloodshot, like I said, in the most recent comics, he was able to bring dead people back to life through the use of his nanites, and same with creating gigantic nanite creatures from his nanites.
Yeah.
And that was also from an outside influence, sort of the voice in his head that was able to do that and also give him the power of invisibility. So if we're bringing Bruce into the equation with Batman Beyond, and I have the ability to bring out some of the greatest scientific minds of the Valiant universe, which is the equivalent of a very far advanced DC universe, it's going to be a little bit more rough than Batman Beyond might want it to be. So I think it might be best if we leave both of those out of the equation.
So you don't have to worry about bringing scientists back. Just bring back Martha and like,
Exactly.
Mom, you're on your own, Terry. Mom,
Exactly. Yeah.
if it worked in the movie. How do you know that name? So yeah. So anyway. I have both channels linked in the description, so I hope I found your right channel. For a comic collector and all that, over thing. So check it if not, but feel free to sub both channels up. Feel free to sub me up. I do appreciate it. I seem to be going like this.
Yeah.
So every time I gain 1, I lose 3, or then I can.
That's the YouTube way now.
Yeah. So feel free to sub everyone up, give all that. And if you have any suggestions on what season 3 should look like, I am really leaning forward towards, like season 3, the Olympians, or season 3, Powerhouse, kind of a little substitute there in a title.
That'd be
Like
pretty cool.
Superman, Green Lantern. Maybe throw in Darkseid again, kind of thing, but maybe not since he was in the first season, kind of thing. All depends on what we do. I will do a live chat again, where we narrow things down and people can argue for certain people. But yeah, sub everyone up, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Thank you guys very much for joining me, and I look forward to having you in round 2 against Batman Beyond. So congratulations again on your win.
Thank you.
Good luck, man. Congrats on the win.
I won't let you down, comic collector.
Yeah, exactly.
Carry your spirit on
You'll
with
be
me.
avenged.
Exactly. A comic collector has to win the whole thing, so it's up to you.
That's right.
I changed my name to Comic Collector. I win.
Yeah.
Only do one.
Yeah. Move on for this. Comic with a C and then collector with a K.
Exactly.
For him, we are together. All right. Take care, everyone. See you guys next time for episode 3. We haven't decided on a date yet. I'm waiting for feedback from a player on which date works best for him. So when we get back to that, I'll let you know as soon as possible, because it's also one I'm looking forward to. Captain Britain versus Ben Reilly, aka Scarlet Spider. So a Spider-Man clone. So gotta have Spider-Man in there somehow.
Yeah.
I look forward to that. So see you guys next time for episode 3. Take care, happy collecting, and stay safe.